Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Gentle Flow Yin Yoga. My name is Michelle Chua. Please have a couple of blankets or a couple of beach towels handy. And I'm going to ask you to begin in Shavasana. How about that? So any way that you like to position your body, come on down to the floor, spread your limbs, take up space. With props or without props, we are going to end in a prop-supported Shavasana. So if you want something a little different, probably don't have anything unless you need it. So you might need to shift around a bit as you're finding that comfortable position to lay your body still in. Take a moment to do that. To mentally and physically arrive in this space in which you get to tune inward, embodied presence. And once your body is telling you, okay, I feel safe, I feel pretty grounded for this moment, you may even like to close your eyes and just let your breath flow naturally. So we began this week exploring the second limb of yoga, the niyamas. And they're often ways, they're described as ways that we relate to ourselves. They're spiritual practices that we do to feel aligned to our core being. And the first niyama that we're exploring throughout this week is saucha, which often translates as cleanliness. Here's a little bit about saucha from In Light on Yoga by BKS Iyengar. While good habits like bathing purify the body externally, asana and pranayama cleanse it internally. The practice of asanas tones the entire body and removes toxins and impurities caused by overindulgence. Pranayama cleanses and aerates the lungs, oxygenates the blood, and purifies the nerves. But more important than the physical cleansing of the body is the cleansing of the mind. Donna Farhi, in her book, Yoga, Mind, Body, and Spirit, A Return to Wholeness, said, the goal of asana practice is to live in your body and to learn to perceive clearly through it. The vast diversity of asanas is no accident, for through exploring both familiar and unfamiliar postures, we are also expanding our consciousness so that regardless of the situation or form we find ourselves in day-to-day lives, we can remain comfortably seated as asana is defined in our center. So we begin here with the body, the most exterior element of our being. Beginning to open it up, calm it, let go of layers of tension that we may have accumulated, perhaps through thought forms or stress response. And then we go a little deeper than the physical body. We use the breath or breathing techniques, pranayama, to bridge our exterior and our interior being. In skillful ways, we'll explore different techniques of breath work. And then we drop into silence at the end, in stillness. And we go a little deeper there, observing our mind's meditation and having an intimate connection to our core being. So let's begin this practice gently. As you're lying here now, make any observations of your physical body that you detect. Parts that are in contact with the outside world, like the ground below. Parts that are in contact with each other. Do any parts of your body feel a little heavier, whether literally or metaphorically? Do you notice any stiffness, any tension, any areas of tenderness that you may need to pay more attention to throughout the practice and nurture? And then from here, bring your attention to your breathing. And notice if Just by attending to it, does it start to change its pattern? Let that go. And just notice the way that it's flowing. Where do you detect your breath in your body most? For some, it might be your belly. For some, it might be your chest. Maybe your nostrils or your throat. Sharpening our skill of paying attention. Let's begin to deepen the breath. Inhaling through your nose. Become more curious about where else can you expand your breath. Exhaling through your mouth. Perhaps even let out a sound, a sigh. Ha. A few more times. Slowing it down. And when you think you've reached the top, maybe even pause there and see if you could sip in a little more air. Sound it out. Hear the vibration of your voice. Massaging the breath in. Oxygenating all the cells of your body. A deep release as you let it go through the mouth. Ha. Now, as you finish this next breath, hold it out for a moment. You might even like to place your hands on your stomach. I'm going to count. Inhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold it in. Exhale through the mouth for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold it out. Breathing into the abdomen. Inhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. Relax any tension that creeps up. Exhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. Let the belly be soft. Again, inhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. Exhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. Now, without pausing, ease into a balanced inhale and exhale. And I invite you, if you can, just breathe through your nose now so that you're warming up your body. And we'll start with Ujjayi Pranayama, which means victorious breathing, where you're also softly narrowing or constricting the back of your throat so that it creates a very subtle whispering sound. And by listening to that sound, you can soothe your mind. It kind of sounds like ocean waves, evenly and gently rising and falling. So soften your attention on the waves of your breath as you sustain them in and out through the nose. And if you're not already extending your legs straight as you're lying on the ground, do straighten your legs forward, reach your arms overhead, and start to rotate your ankles, your wrists. Move organically with your feet, perhaps flexing and pointing, your wrists flexing, extending. Now notice as your arms are reaching up towards the wall behind you, do your shoulders begin to shrug? Just feel that. Do let them shrug for a moment and just feel that in your neck. Feel that in your breath. Now let's draw the shoulder blades down your back ribs. Notice if your front ribs are starting to pop up towards your ceiling. Can you melt the bottom of your front ribs towards the back of your body and towards your pubic bone while still reaching your arms overhead and still creating length throughout your neck? Now take your thumbs to hook like you're making an eagle puppet and keep broadening your chest. Begin to rotate the outsides of your upper arms towards the sky. Help to broaden across the shoulders. And then start to point your toes. You can get a little longer through the big toes. Take a deep breath here. Still out through the nose. And then flex your feet. Press the mounds of your big toes towards your front wall. Notice how that allows your inner thighs to slightly rotate towards the ground. Visualize your tailbone sort of like a snake, slithering forward towards your inner heels. Couple more deep breaths here, finding length through the center line of your body, from crown throughout spine, inner thighs, inner heels. Now from here, with your right hand, catch hold of your left wrist. Pick up your left foot and cross your left ankle over the right ankle, hooking them. And then get long through your center line again. Deep breath in, shoulders stay relaxed away from the neck. And then begin to make a crescent moon shape to the right. So you reach your hands over towards the right edge of your mat, keeping your chest facing the sky. Slide your heels towards the right edge of your mat, opening your left side body. Now perhaps you're closing your eyes. Can you envision breathing a little deeper into your left lung, allowing the intercostal muscles of your rib cage to expand on the left side, breathing in, breathing out. Extending through the left side of your spine. 2 more breaths here. And on your next breath out, come back to center, uncross your ankles, hook your thumbs with the opposite thumb on top to create that eagle puppet, and then take a long stretch from fingertips towards rear wall to inner heels towards front wall, tailbone to crown, front ribs hugging your back body, shoulder blades sliding down the back. 2 more breaths. And you even feel your hip flexors begin to open up as the front of your femurs, your thigh bones draw away from the hip sockets towards your toes. And then from here, use your left hand to catch hold of your right wrist. Pick up your right foot and cross it over your left ankle. Stretch through the center line of your body. 1 more inhale. Then crescent moon to your left, sliding your ankles and wrists towards the left edge of your mat. Inhale, lengthen through the center line again, staying in the crescent moon shape. And then exhale, side bend to the left even more for a few more breaths. Visualize your right lung receiving just a little more breath as it presses against the right wall of your rib cage. On your next exhale, slide back to the center line of your mat, uncross your legs, and bend your knees towards your chest. Now take your choice. We're going to circle the thigh bones at the hip sockets, so either holding on to your bent knees and navigating your thigh bones to rotate at the hips, or just have your arms wide open and free, grounding through your shoulders, and just let your legs move on their own. Just swimming your legs in the air, rotating one way and then the other way. Breathe in. Let it be a breath-led movement. Breathe out. Exploring the range of circular motion at your hip sockets. Notice any sensations you feel in your lower back as you do this, or in your glutes, your inner thighs. Just a few more breaths. Maybe crossing one leg in front and then the other, giving the brain some stimulation, using left and right hemispheres. And we did have some requests for inner thigh opening, so let's begin one here. Bending your knees at 90-degree angles, flex your feet so they curl up to, the toes curl up towards the kneecaps, and then gently splay your thighs apart like a frog lying on its back, supine frog pose. Now as you do this, keep your head and shoulders resting on the ground. If your head needs a little platform, like a folded blanket, that's okay. Let your tailbone be heavy towards the floor either as well. So the pelvis is heavy on the floor. Now you could add the weight of your arms resting on top of your inner thighs. And I like to flex the feet here, so if there's any sensitivity in the knees, you're stabilizing their alignment. Let's take a deep breath into the belly, out through the nose, even deeper into the belly and lower lungs, out through the nose, even deeper into the belly, lower lungs, top of the chest, out through the nose, one more time, just like that, just like 3-part breath, into the belly, lower lungs, top of the chest. Gentle whisper at the back of the throat as you exhale through your nose. Sliding your hands to your outer thighs, join your knees, hug them close to your chest. And we're going to do a little pumping action of squeezing the knees in and then letting them loosen away from your chest. Squeezing the knees in. You might even lift the head and shoulders as you do that. Find some contraction. And then releasing the knees forward a bit. Exhale as you draw the knees in. Inhale as you keep the knees away. Exhale, knees together. Exhale, away. 2 more times. Now keep drawing the right knee in. Up to you if you want to keep the head and shoulders lifted. Straighten your left leg forward on the floor. Bring your right thigh just a little more to the right of your right ribs. And keep pressing the thigh into your right side of your abdomen with each breath out. Wind relieving posture. If you ever need to relieve some wind, this is a good pose for that. Let's take 4 more breaths here. And on your next exhale, bend both knees into your chest again. Draw them in, deep breath. Then drop your right leg forward straight on the ground. Second side. Now again, up to you if you want to keep your head and shoulders resting on the floor, or more actively lift your head and shoulders, add a little more contraction. About 4 more deep breaths here. See if you can slide your left thigh just a little bit more to the left side of your left ribs. Adding more compression as you exhale. Beautiful. And then after this, set your 2 feet on the ground, wider than hips, distance apart, bending your knees. Separating your knees just as wide apart as your feet. Open your arms so they're out of the way of your legs. Inhale here. Exhale, drop your knees to the right gently. Inhale, lift the knees. Exhale, drop them to the left. A windshield wiper for 7 more breaths here. Further loosening your lower back as well as your inner and outer thighs, your hips. If you want to go a little faster, you can breathe in one direction, breathe out the other direction. So remember that everything I say is merely a suggestion. I'm sort of like your tour guide, giving you ideas of adjustments to make, things to pay more attention to, but really you're in your body and responding to the experiences that you're having. Let your body teach you how it needs to move in the physical practice. All right, let's turn onto our bellies, entering Sphinx pose. So as you lie on your belly, lifting your chest, slide your forearms in front of you, landing your elbows about 1 inch in front of each shoulder. As you parallel your forearms, palms flat, face down. Imagine, without actually moving your forearms, that you are dragging them back towards your hips so that you create this sliding of your shoulder blades down the ramp of your back ribs. And as you take an in-breath, smile your collarbones a little broader from the sternum to each shoulder head. By looking down just in front of your thumbs, can you find length in the back of your neck? And if you want to explore some movement in your neck, you can gently shake your head no. You can nod your head yes. Look behind you. Feel free if your neck is wanting to move here. Can you still hear the quality of your breath? Now, all the while that we're broadening the chest, beginning to open the area of the heart energy center, can you find stability in your pelvis by rooting down your pubic bone? Can you find stability through your legs and feet by grounding every toenail, fanning them out on the floor and pressing your heels back to feel length, not only of your legs, but of your tailbone again, that snake slithering towards your inner heels. We're gonna take 3 lion's breaths here. They're nice cleansing breaths as we're talking about saucha, which is the practice of cleanliness. So take a deep breath in, open the mouth wide, stick out the tongue, eyes wide and crossed as you exhale. Again, deep inhale, drink up to the very top. Tongue out, big exhalation. One more lion's breath, maybe a little more lift in the chest. Inhale deeply. Then let your forehead rest on the ground as you slide your fingertips alongside your shoulder bones. Then step your fingertips just outside the edges of your mat so that your elbows are bent 90 degrees out to the left and right walls. Keep your legs heavy and rooted, your pelvis heavy and rooted. Picture the area right under your shoulder blades. And where that bra strap area is, ladies, inhale, coil your chest up. And then look behind you as you rotate that shoulder further back and down, breathing out. Inhale, look forward, broaden the chest again. Exhale, rotate the other shoulder behind you and down, look behind. Inhale, forward, lengthen the sternum towards the wall in front. Exhale, switch. Keep going. Inhale, center, lengthen through the center line. Exhale, switch. And now this is one movement, but you could have a different movement that your body just wants to do here. Purpose is we're creating fluidity in the neck and shoulders. If you want to continue this sort of wax on, wax off of your shoulder blade circle in your back ribs, you might get into any knots that can manifest around the inner scapula. Change it up as you like, about 5 more cycles of breath. And from here, let's press the hands alongside your floating ribs, lifting your body gently onto hands and knees. If you like, you can turn to face the front edge of your mat if that's more familiar for you. And if you have blocks there, you may want to have a couple of blocks just on the outsides of the top of your mat. Let's begin in cat-cow. And as we set up the hands, if you want to stretch your inner wrists and forearms, you could spin out your fingertips, whether they face the outer edges of your mat or some degree towards your knees. And though your wrists are just under your shoulders, step your knees a couple inches behind your hips so your torso has a little more space to move around. Entering cow, inhale, glide your chest through your upper arms, coiling it up as you lift your tailbone and gaze. Exhale, contract your belly as you bow your skull, tucking your tailbone underneath. Inhale, lengthen, chest forward, then up, looking towards the moon. Exhale, contract, doming your back. Take several more cycles of cat-cow. As we talked about recently, the vagus nerve, which is connected to many of the major organs of the body, the lungs, the heart, digestive organs, all the way up to the brain, and sends messages to the brain. And as we do certain movements like spinal flexion or calming breath work, or even chanting, as you hear and can chant with now in the background, they help to tone the vagus nerve, which activates the relaxation response of our autonomic nervous system. So feel free to chant along as well. Now begin to move more organically. If you want to switch up your hands, if you want to stretch your outer wrists, you could either flip your palms to face up one at a time, or I like to make fists out of my hands and gently press the fists against each other, and then lean the backs of the fists onto the ground, gently gliding forward. You might even want to circle your pelvis sideways, sweeping through child's pose, and then other way, opening up the outer hips, the sides of the torso. Still riding the waves of your breath. And then let's lean back into the calves, or you can stand on your knees if you prefer, and just gently shake out your hands, your arms, your shoulders, maybe your torso. Anything that wants to shake your head. You can even circle the spine, add some Sufi rolls. Just a few breaths here. Letting healthy movement move any energetic impulses that need to be digested, metabolized, and transmuted, so that we can be a little clearer in our energy flow. And then as you come back to hands and knees, please take your two blocks and set your hands on top of each on the tallest height. We're going to inhale, raise the right leg behind you as you reach the heel towards the sky, looking up like cow pose. Exhale, bend the right knee towards your belly, look down. Inhale, right leg up and back, turning the right hip to face forward. Exhale, round in, knee towards chest. One more time. Inhale, lift the right heel, some flexion in the front of the spine. And then exhale, knee towards chin, step your right foot gently forward, just inside of your right block. Having your legs hips width apart, scoot your right heel another inch or two forward. Find a good amount of stretch into the top of your left thigh and your hip flexor, but not overbending the front knee in front of the heel. And then from here, we're going to add some circular movement of the pelvis, going sideways to the left, breathing in, hinging a little deeper forward, sideways to the right, breathing out, leaning back towards left. A couple more in this direction. Just inviting some energy through Svadhisthana chakra, sacral energy center. As we talked about before, ability to flow, to not feel stagnant, to be able to adapt to changes. And then let's go in the opposite direction, circling to the right, forward, left, back. Breathe in, breathe out. And then now a different movement. So start with your right knee stacked above your right heel. Take a deep breath and allow your tailbone to anchor a little deeper towards the floor without completely laying your belly on your right thigh. Have a little bit of lift of your frontal hip bones. Then as you exhale, leave your right heel where it is, curl up your right toes and begin to plug your right thigh bone deeper into the hip socket. To whatever degree you can straighten the right leg and bow with a long spine without rounding the shoulders. Let's turn this into a breath-led movement. I'll rebend the right knee to that kneeling lunge. Exhale, scissor your right outer hip back towards straightening the right leg, half split. 3 more rounds of breath. Inhale, lunge. Exhale, half split. Breathe in, lunge. Breathe out, grow the spine forward. Last round. And as you arrive in half split, let's stay there for at least 5 more breaths, adjusting the height of the blocks if you need, or maybe no blocks. As you're flexing your right foot, spread your toes and press the big toe mound. Drawing your right thigh bone back deeper into the hip socket, align your 2 hip bones to equally face forward. Imagine a string pulling the center of your chest at your sternum towards your front wall as you open your throat, broaden your chest, and bow in. Ardha Hanumanasana. And on your next inhale, floating your chest up. Step your right knee behind you, coming back to all fours. Let's take a pause in a half downward facing dog here before we switch sides. So have your knees directly under your hips. As you extend your arms forward like Frankenstein, just consciously rotate your triceps downward so that you're broadening your shoulder blades across your back ribs. And then press your shoulder blades down, lengthening your neck. Now, as you keep your arms straight, flip your palms face down. You can come onto your fingertips if you prefer that. And as your hips remain stacked above your knees, lengthen your spine and arms forward with a feeling of a flat back. Lengthen the crown of your head towards the space between your thumbs. Rebound that pressing down energy through your fingertips to lift your shoulder blades back. And just another 3 breaths in this neutral transitioning pose. Rather than letting your belly be lax and sink here, can you lift it in supportive length for your lower spine? Then as you bring your hands closer to your knees, grab your blocks. You may want to have them on their tallest height. And let's begin with a little movement. Inhale, lift your left leg, squaring your hips as you coil your chest up, heel towards sky. Exhale, round, bending the left knee towards your belly, looking down. Inhale, raise left leg back, flexing the front of your spine as you look up. Exhale, contract knee towards chest. Last one, inhale, raise your left leg and heart. Exhale, contract knee towards chin, softly landing your left foot just inside of your left block. Separate your leg tips width apart. See that your front knee is just over the heel as you're sliding forward. Be another inch or 2, finding just the right amount of stretch in the front of that right thigh and hip. We're going to add those circular. So as you breathe in, start to shift to the right with your hips, then forward. And as you breathe out, shift to the left and then lean back. Circling right, breathe in and forward. Circling left, breathe out and back. Continue with your own pace. And let's switch directions. Inhale to the left, forward. Exhale to the right, back. Keep going. Just adding some lubrication to joints, especially at the hips. Areas that can feel stagnant if you have to be on Zoom for working at home in these times, or whatever creates stagnancy, emotional buildup. Opening up our ability to flow. All right, as you come back to a lunge, front knees right over heel, hips are facing forward. Inhale, imagine your tailbone like an anchor is seeking the earth right below. Belly is drawing in, support of the lower back. Exhale, keep your left heel there, flex your left toes up and plug the thigh bone deeper into the hip socket. Whatever degree you can straighten the leg and bow while lengthening your neck. Inhale, rebend the left knee. Exhale, scissor left outer hip back, bowing into half split. 3 more cycles of breath. Inhale, lunge. Exhale, half split. Breathe in. Let the chest blossom forward. Exhale as you bow. Keep your throat open. Last round. And as you arrive back in half split, let's stay a little longer. Make any adjustments of the height of your hands, maybe no longer using the blocks. Just notice how they affect your shoulders' ability to relax away from your neck. As you're flexing your left foot, spread your toes and press the big toe mound forward. Feel your left quadricep enliven in support of your hamstring. Imagine that string pulling your sternum towards your front wall as you continue to grow your spine while bowing from your hips. Ardha Hanumanasana. Next inhale, float your heart space up and step back to all fours. Now, this time take your choice of again half downward facing dog like we did earlier on our knees, or come into regular downward facing dog if you prefer that. If you come into the straighter leg version, you may want to take a few breaths to just shift around, like pedaling your feet in place, giving the backs of your legs a little more warmth, movement, or gently shaking your head. Allow your weight to spread from the heels of your palms throughout every knuckle, throughout your fingertips, between your thumbs and index fingers. As you broaden across your shoulders and drop your head. Hips very high, maybe even with bent knees. Weight descending through the backs of your legs, your heels. Imagine I'm standing right behind you on your mat. And I'm pulling your hips towards your ceiling and rear wall. Can you find that length throughout the front and back of your spine? As we now hold still in whatever version of downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana you're in. 4 more deep breaths. Encouraging blood flow in reverse, stimulating your circulation as well. And as you breathe out, please lower down onto hands and knees. And I'd like to offer a couple of options for a hip opening posture that I'm going to set the timer for. The first option is a symmetrical posture, which means you'll be in it longer than the second option, which will be 1 on each side. So the first option is frog pose, the upright version. And you get into it by imagining you're going to take a very wide kneed version of child's pose, but you want to rotate your thighs out so that your kneecaps and your middle toes are both pointing out to the sides. Your knees bent at 90 degrees, your knees in line with your hips, your knees in line with your ankles, and you could even straddle a pillow right in between your thighs, adding some support. You could even have a block to rest your forehead or forearms on. Adjusting the height of it, you can make a tower of blocks. And then it's breathing, patiently observing. So there's that, or single pigeon pose, which we'll come to from hands and knees, sliding the right shin forward. If you're opting for the second version, we'll do 2 minutes on each side. If you're opting for frog pose, you'll just stay the whole 4 or so minutes. So those of you coming into single pigeon, slide your right calf across your mat in front of your pelvis, straighten your left leg back and tuck the toes for a moment. Have your 2 hands alongside your hips so that you can lift your pelvis off the floor, and further scissor your right hip back. Bring your left outer hip forward. And if you're finding there's a gap between your right glute and the ground, fill that gap with a blanket or whatever prop you have. Then untuck your back toes. Take a deep breath as you lift your chest, taking your time to fold forward. Now for this version, there's a lot of things you can do. You could rest with a tower of blocks under your forehead, a big pillow that you're hugging, like a bear hug. Or you could add a little more side stretch. Those of you that are seeking to open up the outer hip, the outer sides of the torso. Both arms to the left to open up the left side body. And I'm setting the timer here for 2 minutes so that we can switch sides and then do 2 minutes on the other side. There's also an option here in single pigeon to add a spinal twist. Thread the needle where you flare your right elbow towards the sky, crawling the right fingertips towards the upper right corner of your mat, and thread your left arm with a palm face up beneath your right bent elbow, resting the left side of your skull on the ground or another prop. Adding whatever spice you need. Notice how your body's responding. You've got another minute and 11 seconds in this side. Has the quality of your breath changed? Are you noticing any shift in your mental state? Or a shift in the sensations of your body? Those of you in frog, please stay. Those of you in single pigeon, on your next exhale, gently begin to press your hands into the ground, slowly lifting your torso, stepping your right knee behind you to arrive at hands and knees again. Now, if you need a moment, you can lift the right leg and just gently shake it out. Encourage some blood flow into that right hip socket. And then as you're ready from hands and knees, cross your left calf in front of your pelvis onto your mat. Straighten your right leg behind you and tuck the toes just to set up. Plant your hands alongside your hips, lift your pelvis off the ground, and scissor your left hip further back, allowing your right hip to come further forward. And as the two are aligned evenly, notice if there's a gap between your left glute and the ground that you may need to fill with a prop. Then untuck your right toes, take a deep breath, lifting your chest. And then start to explore variations with your arms. If you did so on the first side, you might, on this side, crawl both hands over to the left. I'm setting the timer for 2 minutes. If you spiraled your torso into thread the needle, on this side, you could bend your left elbow towards the sky, plant your left fingertips towards the upper left corner of your mat, and then thread your right arm, palm face up, under your left bent elbow, resting the right side of your head on the ground or a prop. we'll be focusing more on it in the coming classes like tomorrow. Another wonderful energy center to activate or pay attention to is Vishuddha chakra, your throat energy center. As that in itself means purity. And it involves using your voice. And it is associated with our ability to speak our truth, to communicate, which includes also listening. And to creatively, courageously express ourselves from our core being. Just things to start to chew on as we dive a little deeper throughout this week. Alrighty, we're down to 20 more seconds. You too, frog pose people. So those of you that are in frog, just visualize before you start to move. One way I like to exit this posture is to transition into a wide-legged version of child's pose. So you're still facing the same direction, but you begin to bring the feet together, slide the knees together, and drop your pelvis towards your heels. And just let that be a transitioning posture that you stay in for a few breaths. Frog can be pretty intense. Those of you in single pigeon, begin to come out back to hands and knees, in which you might also like to shake out your left leg. Encourage some more blood flow into the left hip. So you've got a moment in a wonderfully detoxifying posture, a variation of a posture that you already know, which is child's pose. And the detoxification comes into pressure that we put into the abdomen. So as you set up your feet together to prepare for child's pose, you can have your knees together or apart, whatever's more comfortable for you. We're going to take the fists and place them right in the lower abdomen, just above your frontal hip bones. And then there, this might work better if your knees are together, unless that's totally not a choice for you right now. And then you'll take a deep breath, exhale completely, soften the belly, and then fold into child's pose. I'm gonna set the timer for 2 minutes here. So bowing in, just let your belly become as loose as possible here. You could rest your forehead on the ground or place a pillow or block underneath. Pay attention to your facial muscles. Let your jaw become loose as you soften your tongue. Relax the four corners of each eye. Smoothen the skin between your eyebrows. You might experience some discomfort in this posture, but as long as it's not pain, it's okay. We're only here just a minute longer. Softening your belly. This can be also a wind relieving pose if you ever need one, or constipation relieving pose. Breathe in, breathe out. Last 3 seconds. Gently roll your spine upright, slowly lifting your head. Free up your hands, maybe loosen up your wrists with some circles. We're gonna come into Malasana, or a version of a squat. And for those of you that might have ankle or Achilles tendon tightness, you could fold up a blanket and place it towards the back edge of your mat and let your heels rest on the front edges of that blanket as a platform. But as you find your squat position, here are some versions. You could completely sit down, whether on that blanket or a block, and step your heels wide apart, catching hold of your ankles here, sitting upright in your squat. Or, like I just explained, have your heels on top, turn out your legs from the hips so your kneecaps and middle toes are turned out in the same degree, and then bring your hands to prayer at the heart. Elbows can help to splay your inner thighs gently. Some of you may not need a platform. You can have your heels completely on the ground. We're just going to be here for 10 deep breaths. So take a long exhale, hold it out. Inhale, imagine from lower spine up each vertebra, through the thoracic spine, the neck, the crown. Top of the head is the top of the breath. And then as you exhale, cleansing exhale down the ladder of your spine. Imagining the breath releasing through your tailbone into the earth. Inhale the breath up the spine from tailbone through each vertebra. Tracing the center line of your body to your crown. Exhale from crown slowly all the way down. Tailbone to earth. Keep going, another 8 cycles of breath. Visualizing up the spine and down the spine. And once you finish this breath, we're going to set up for a supine version, hero's pose, Supta Virasana, with some props. So here you may want to grab everything pretty much. I'll start with the mildest, most supported version, and then I'll minimize from there so you can see the depth that you want to arrive at. So I think the most supported version is to grab your 2 blocks and your pillow or your bolster and make a ramp with your 2 blocks at the furthest edge of your bolster away from you and your pillow sliding downward towards you. And then you'll want to have your knees hips distance apart or narrower as you either prop your pelvis on top of a folded blanket or some kind of platform between your ankles where your toes are pointing back. Really important, don't, since your knees are facing forward, toes are pointing back. And then you'll want to feel every toenail planted on the floor. And then from here, you may need a second pillow. And then you start to lean back. So you feel the fronts of your thighs, fronts of your hips, front of your torso open up, even your chest as you splay the arms apart, palms face down. Or you could catch hold of opposite elbows overhead. Now, if that's a bit too much support and you're not feeling much in this pose, you eliminate some props. Cool to sit on the ground in between your ankles, moving the calves aside. Again, make sure your toenails are flat on the floor. You can lean back from here. Maybe you need less of a platform to land your back against. Maybe you remove the blocks from underneath so the pillow is flat on the floor. You can go even deeper that way. Just be mindful of your lower back. It's okay to feel some discomfort, but not any compression pain in the lower spine. And you can avoid that by drawing the tailbone forward as you lean back. Tailbone towards between the knees. Some of you might not even want to use a pillow, and you can lie flat on your back if your knees are okay with it. Try to keep your knees heavy on the floor. And then last version, couple of blocks. One behind the skull, one behind the scapula, 2 blocks medium height like an equal sign. And then lean back into a supported chest opening, heart opening version of Supta Virasana. So wherever you are, we're going to be here for 3 more minutes. I'm setting the timer. And for the beginning of these 3 minutes, as you're in your version of Supta Virasana, I'd like to guide you through some Durga Pranayama, or 3-part breath work, a little more to calm the nervous system and really help to open the body and bridge your awareness deeper inward. So with that, you may like to place the left hand on the center of your chest, the right hand on your lower belly. We're going to dive right into it without the preparation. So just listen carefully. We're going to breathe in through the nose, and you decide if you'd rather breathe out through your nose or your mouth, whatever is more natural for you. So take a deep breath and let's clear out first. Holding the breath out. Begin 1/3 of an inhale to fill up your lower belly. Pause. 1/3 of an inhale into your side ribs. Pause. Last third into your chest. Holding the breath, relax the shoulders down. And then slowly, completely empty the breath. Arrive at empty and pause. Again, into your belly, inhale 1/3. Into your side ribs, inhale 1/3. Into your chest, inhale the last third. And as you hold your breath, soften your body even more. Slowly empty your breath. Hold it out. Let's do one more together. Into your belly, inhale 1/3. Side ribs, inhale 1/3. Chest, inhale. Hold it in, relax more deeply. And exhale slowly. Arrive at the bottom to hold the breath just a few seconds, and then try 1 or more cycles of Durga Pranayama on your own counts. Now we're going to very gradually leave this position. So take your time. You're going to press your hands alongside your body onto the ground or your props. Slowly lifting your torso upright. And when you eventually come upright, slide your legs straight in front of you, coming into Dandasana, stick pose, just to relieve the backs of your knees. If you want, you can gently rotate your legs. Sitting up tall as you place your hands alongside your hips, rooting down through each sitting bone, lengthening up through the spine, yet allowing a looseness, not a rigidity. Just another 3 breaths. So we're gonna arrive in Shavasana with our legs raised, supported. If you have a wall that's clear, you could come into legs up the wall pose. Really great if you have a headache. You can get into that by sliding one hip flush against the wall, rolling over to your side in a fetal position, and then sliding towards the wall until both glutes are touching it before rolling onto your back. And I find that that's nice choreography to smoothly get into the pose without having to crab walk to the wall. For those of you that don't have a wall, maybe you have a chair or a couch that you could raise your calves on, or you can make a makeshift couch with your blocks. You can place your 2 blocks in the medium height so they're a bit more stable. They have a greater surface area. And then place your pillow on top of those 2 blocks. And then even maybe a second pillow if you have one, as high as you want to make it. Maybe your blankets. And then as you're lying down, you can place the meatiest part of your calves on top of your makeshift couch. And then once you're lying on your back, you can take a moment to use your thumbs, trace along the left and right sides of your mid-spine towards your glutes, releasing the flesh of your glutes towards the couch. And then from there, as you turn your palms to face up, walk your shoulder blades each down your back ribs, and then take a deep breath to broaden your chest. Allow your shoulder bones to be heavy on the earth. Softly turning your head left, right, up, down. Find the most neutral position of your neck, where your throat is open, your breath is free. And then once there, as you close your eyes, can you feel a subtle sinking of your eyeballs in their sockets, like pebbles thrown into a pond, rippling concentric circles of calm, of softening. Can you visualize those concentric circles of energy rippling from surrounding your eyes, softening around your forehead, your neck, around your shoulders, around your mid-torso, continuing concentric circles of calm, relaxation, down to all ends of your body as you gift yourself this quiet space to observe inward. Now you may prefer to stay in the position your body's in as we enter our optional 5 minutes of meditation, silent meditation. But if you'd rather sit up for it, you may want to draw your bent knees into your chest. Slowly turn to one side and eventually lift your body upright, allowing a position that facilitates calm and alertness. So as Iyengar said in the beginning, Saucha is about cleanliness of body, even purification through the breath. But most importantly is the clarity of the mind. So utilizing mind-body connection through the physical practice and breath work already, I invite you to observe what is here in the mind right now. Can you allow yourself to drop in deeper into that inner space that feels like home? 5 minutes. Gently bring your awareness back to your body, back to the space around your body. Now, if you have time to stay in Shavasana, if you're still there, feel free to stay. Otherwise, join your palm, closing. For you, cleanliness, mind. This one with one chant of Om. Take a deep breath. The light in me bows to the light in you. Namaste.